I do believe we are live. How about that? Sorry for the delay. It's all Colt's fault. So we are here to...
It's true.
It is true.
This is completely true. Sorry.
It is, in fact, true.
Sorry,
I didn't think
Internet.
we would go there this early in the broadcast.
No, it's okay. Call me out. I will apologize to the Internet. It will not be the first time I've done that.
Look them in the eyes.
Yes.
And apologize.
We are sorry, Internet, for making you wait.
Sorry, 3.6 billion people. My fault.
So, this is the Google Games chat. We need sort of a better, catchier name for... I had Google Games Gab, but I don't think that's better.
No, that is not better.
So we'll work on that. Hopefully by the next time we do this, we'll actually have a decent title for you.
The Google Games Coffee Clutch.
Yes.
Something like that. You're the only one with coffee, though.
Yeah, actually it's tea.
Google Gameville.
Yeah. So anyway, let's start with the introduction. So hi, I'm Todd Kerpelman. Hopefully there's like a little label underneath my face that you can actually see that will show you my name so you know how to spell it. Let's see, over here to my right, your left probably. This is Colt McCandless.
Hello, how you doing? And if you would like to contribute to our Hot Live Fun Relief, call the number live on your screen right here. Operators are standing by to take your call.
Or ask a question on the little moderator link below.
Right.
Let's see, to my immediate left, this is Daniel Wolf Dobson. He's our Hangouts guy. Mm-hmm. I'm wearing the shirt in...
Yeah, I don't know why you're wearing my product shirt, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, it's warm down here. For those of you not in the Bay Area, like the difference between San Francisco and Mountain View in the summer is about like 25 degrees. So every San Francisco resident has to have like a heavy jacket or a sweater or something that they put on at the beginning of the day, and then like somewhere in the commute down, you have to take it off.
It's layers.
But yeah, by the end of the day, Todd is not wearing anything.
It gradually...
It keeps getting hotter.
Especially when Todd's wearing nothing. That's the hottest part.
I'm just going to say it's a very good thing we didn't schedule this at like 4:35. Then we'd have to have
different kind of
that's Speedo hour. Speedo hour.
Yes, then we'd have to have age restrictions and all sorts of fun stuff on this. And
wow. Okay.
And then to my far left we have John McCutcheon. He is you've been here at Google for a grand total of 2.5 days. Is that correct?
40 hours? Yeah. That's the perfect time to put him on the internet.
Yeah, we said. Yeah. That's great. You're going to go on TV.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. John, what are you going to be doing here?
I'm going to be working on native client and Dart, bringing better games to the web.
All right.
I think that's good.
It so happens we like the web.
Yeah.
We're big fans.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to last, though.
Yeah, it's a fad.
I mean, there's a story here where I saw one of the first web browsers on my Next in like 1992, and I was like, this is completely disorganized. How will you be able to be able...
Who's going to organize our information?
No, I didn't think somebody should organize this. I thought, this is completely disorganized. It'll never catch on. I deleted the browser. It's really bad.
There was a time when Gopher was just way more convenient.
That was the thing. It was like Gopher, you knew where things were. Wow.
Things were nicely organized.
And much like the Michael Jordan story, the owners of Google knew that you said this is impossible, and that gave them the ambition to win the gold medal and launch a company.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm a big Olympics fan, so everything this week is very Olympics oriented.
All right.
Yeah.
I actually did see Sergey and Larry when they came out to where I was in grad school.
Oh, really?
They gave a talk about this company they were thinking about founding.
Thinking about founding it?
Well, they were just kind of going on this little academic tour.
Interesting.
And I remember scratching my chin thinking, wow, is that going to work? I don't even know.
Disorganized.
Yeah. There's not enough understanding in that.
Add microtransactions.
Yes.
We should actually talk about something.
Well, we should talk about something.
Sorry, moderator, yeah.
No, we should talk about games.
Yeah. So what's new in Knackleland? Actually, why don't you start for people who don't know what native client is.
Oh, yeah.
Give us the pitch.
Absolutely. So native client is a technology that allows you to run C and C++ code in your web browser as safely as JavaScript, no plugin required. Which is fantastic because this means that there's this perfect little critical point between developers who pride themselves on reaching the maximum amount of users, running on lots of platforms, but still want the executional control and the speed required to be able to actually execute the code. So the critical thing is that you can actually run native client code. So this is C++ code, right? You've got an existing code base, you've got years of development, engineers have been trained, millions of dollars in a code base. You can run it right in the web browser without the plugin, which is typically where your C++ code on the web comes in right now. And of course, most of those you install the plugin and then all of a sudden you have like 50 new toolbar modifications to search for gophers and cats and new deals on gophercat.com. So native client's a fantastic technology that we have in Chrome, and we've been seeing really good adoption with it. I think since our official launch in December of last year, we've seen over 24 games ship using native client technology inside of Chrome, which is great, right? I mean, these are games that span from the indie to mobile to console as well. We have actually a full suite of games that have come to native client from titles from consoles like the Xbox 360, and they're getting the same performance, the same graphics, which is it's really inspiring to see, right? When you see that kind of power and that kind of leverage inside of the web browser, it's awesome. I love working on it.
Cool. So, all right. So, let's say I'm a traditional PC game developer. Why go from sort of having my EXEs to running something in a browser? Like, what do I get out of that?
Yeah. Well, first off is reach, right? I mean, a lot of developers, when you're executing in code in the PC space, you have a certain number of digital distribution silos that you're kind of locked into, right? Really getting where we sort of are, in my opinion, in the digital distribution age of games right now is really just a one-off from where we were a few years ago in the retail market, right? Where effectively developers spent a lot of time scrapping and fighting for market share and visibility and eyeballs. We're in a better place because we're digital, but we really haven't fixed that model, right? Developers are still spending tons and tons of time fighting for small pieces of user attention in these larger digital distribution ecosystems. The web fixes that, right? The web isn't about a single digital distribution silo. It's about any link anywhere, right? I can send a link to you and you can go watch a cat skiing on some little tiny skis made out of watermelons right now, right? And then you can share it with your friend and share it with that friend, and it can go everywhere, and there's no restrictions on that. So when you're talking about gaming on the web, what you're really talking about is the ability to touch every human on the planet, right? And put your product, your artwork, your game in front of them and have them experience that and have them, create an emotional attachment and then turn around and be able to share it with everyone else. So it's really a powerful medium. For those game developers who understand what the web brings, it allows them to break out of a lot of these molds that there's a lot of frustration with.
Gotcha. So, I mean, your long-term goal for game developers is I can share a game as easily as I can share a link to
absolutely
to a video.
Absolutely. Can you imagine that? Like, really, imagine this, where you've got an MMO, right? And you're sitting there playing inside of your web browser, and you need one of your buddies to join, and you pop up your chat console and you send him a chat, and that goes right to him. He can click on the link. It goes right into the game, loads the game into his character, and he's right in the instance with you, right? I mean, and that's no install, right? No load time. Hypothetically, we'd like to optimize
in a world
for that.
where assets are incredibly infinitesimal.
Or asset transfer has been optimized in the correct way, right? I mean, we see a lot of these console development systems. You get 7 gigabytes. That takes time to transfer, right? But we have to get into and this is again another harp I can get on about digital distribution silos, but I'll get to that later. Separate discussion. That's
Okay.
one big thing. In any case, that's the main thing, right? If you can actually share a game and experience a game as easy as sharing a link, that's the power of the internet, right? That's really what we're here to do, and that's really what game developers have been queuing on and really seeing the power of native client with.
Very cool.
Yeah. Or at least that's my pitch.
That's a good pitch.
Yeah. I think it is possible to really reduce load times. If you design a game around the idea that, let's say an MMO, if you compartmentalize and chunk the world up, you should be able to stream the immediate world where the player is landing very, very quickly, and then slowly propagate and fill out the rest of the world in the background. And
we've seen success with this, right? I mean, Blizzard created TryWow, which was effectively a downloadable, free, streamable client for their World of Warcraft MMO. Effectively, if I recall correctly, it was like 25 megs. You would download it. You could actually play up to level 20 for free with this thing. Yeah. And what it would do is you would download it, and all it basically gave you was your character creation screen, knowing that a user is going to sit there and tweak with stuff, and while they were playing, they would be streaming in data in the background.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, and I mean, really, if you think about it, this is the problem that we've been going at for 15 years. I mean, the PlayStation 2 was all about, well, we have all these different streaming paths that are going through, and we have to make sure that we're actually streaming the textures in live as we're rendering it. And you always had to build in the lag from, we got to get it off disk, then we got to get it in memory, from memory onto the graphics render. We've been doing this for 20 years now.
Yeah, it's definitely an old problem, and in fact, solved very well. Like, I don't know if you guys remember playing Jak and Daxter back on the PS2. This had probably one of the greatest solutions I've ever seen for this. So it was a live streaming world, probably one of the most successful and one of the first to really do it. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but if you just took off in one direction, like as fast as you could go, and the data wasn't streamed in yet, the designers actually put in something funny. They'd trip your character. Your character would fall over and play like a 30-second get up animation, allowing enough time for the data to be streamed.
great.
That's brilliant.
It's always like, it's like those doors in Mass Effect. Like, or the elevators.
The elevators.
The
yes.
elevators.
Yeah,
Man,
yes.
this elevator is taking forever. Why did we ever install this?
Why is floor 2 9 million feet above floor 1?
Why didn't we install a pole just to slide down? I don't understand. No, but it's an old problem, and it's a problem. Well, and I mean, I can go all the way back to when I was working on basketball for the Dreamcast, where you would put the ball up, and we didn't have the physics running all the way forward to know whether or not the ball was going to go in. So we had to stream like 4 or 5 different audio clips, which like it's in, it's off the rim, no good, all these things. And then by the time the ball was coming down the arc, we knew we had 5 of them in memory, and then it would go in, and then we'd go, it was this one, and then we'd play that. And every now and then we were spectacularly wrong. Somebody would jump up and swat it away, and then the commentary just wouldn't say anything because we had nothing ready.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel that in the modern age of development we have right now, that users still benefit from streaming of assets and being sort of closer to instant load as possible? Do you think that's something that users actually care about, that'll actually drive sales for developers?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
I mean, I think it depends on the system. Like, if I were to say, if I'm going through sort of a traditional model where, I go onto Steam and I say, hey, I'm going to buy this thing. Actually, well, at that point I've bought it, and I've sort of accepted that, maybe depending on my internet connection, it might take a few hours until I can actually play. If I could play it right away, or if I could start playing and then it asks me for my credit card or something like that, I bet you... All right, I'm going to say I bet you could get a few more sales that way.
So, let me give a scenario, right? I think that we could all relate to this. You get home from work and you've got 30 minutes to play a game. You don't want to spend 10 to 15 minutes of those waiting for everything to load up and get everything started. You just want to drop in, play your 30 minutes, and get out. So streaming absolutely will help there. And it's going to make our very busy schedules have room for games.
Well,
and really high-quality games, too, not just small games.
Well, I think streaming and caching together.
Yeah.
Once you have it downloaded, then you are able to drop back in instantaneously. I mean, that's one of the things.
Well, but I think if you organize your game world in such a way that like the immediate assets you need are 5 to 10 megs, and then you're streaming it in after that, I think you could still do it without caching.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's assuming everyone's got a very good internet connection.
Yes.
Like I would love it if it started streaming while I was playing, and then when I was done playing, it just kept downloading all the game data.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Well, I think Steam does that, right? They have you can start playing episode 2 like when it's half downloaded, and then they'll keep.
They have some checkpoint where you can start it.
Well, I think Todd actually brought up sort of the crux of the situation here. Is we're definitely at an inflection point. I think if you're a game developer right now and you haven't read the millions of articles that are talking about the monetization differences in the mobile space, then you're living under a rock, right? I mean, right now we're seeing lots of studies showing freemium is definitely dominating in terms of monetization over premium style content. Like there's still the niche for it. They're still there, especially on the Steam platform, right, where AAA hardcore developers work in that premium model. But I think Todd really caught onto it, where you said, like, you started with, if this is a premium content, I expect to buy it and take some time. But if this is a freemium style content,
I just wanted to be there.
Right, and so that's where I think really the crux is right there. Is even with the monetization methods that we're seeing have huge success in the industry right now, the freemium style content, we're still sort of gated by this mental model that consumers have given from our silos, that I'm going to click a button and then it's going to take some time to download and then I can play it later. And that's where, again, I think I come back to wanting the webification of games, right? Wanting the ability to send someone a link and have them instant load it without having all this install and everything. That's really a dream of mine. That's something that John and I hopefully will work on a lot more in the coming year. So.
Well, I mean, also just like applying patches too.
Oh yeah.
Anybody who's ever left their favorite console or whatever or their game alone for a while, and like, I haven't played this in forever. Oh.
And there goes your 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So definitely all that stuff. I do find it interesting, though, that especially for mobile gaming, I kind of do want it all on the device before I walk out the door, because I don't actually know what my connectivity is going to be.
That's fair.
Especially for I'm going to Alaska pretty soon. So no idea what my internet connection.
I don't know what your coverage is going to be there.
It's like I'm going to be adjusting the moose antler. Like, yeah, okay.
Moose internet connection. What do you plug in? Just get a moose.
I'm very, very sorry to all of our Alaska watchers.
Well, if they're watching, then they have
Except
good internet.
I actually
so
am,
actually, I think it'll.
Well, no, I'm going out to the national parks and stuff where the coverage is going to be poor, and I'm bringing my Nexus 7 with me.
Well, I think that's just the next place we should put out Google Fiber is the Alaskan Wildlife Park.
Is Denali. 3/4 of the way up to Denali, there's like
Antarctica.
a bunch of Chromebooks.
I think it works.
We'll send Pitbull up there.
There you go.
He's already in Kodiak. It'd be awesome.
Sorry, we're completely off base.
That's fine.
Good. So next question, Todd.
Well, I was actually going to touch on the freemium, sort of the freemium model. Like, do you feel like that's the future for all games?
Oh, absolutely not. No. I think so. The way I correlate freemium versus premium is much like television versus movies right now. Right, like there is always a market that someone wants that rich, immersive, interactive environment, and that is never going to go away. I think the fact that Steam sales and consoles actually stayed relatively strong, considering how much attention and money is now in the mobile market, is proof that there is definitely a market there, and that's not going to go away. Right, that's your movie. That's your AAA content. That's your sit down, play some time, spend a good weekend ignoring the kids shooting some people in the face. Right, like that's there.
Good wholesome fun.
Yeah, good wholesome family.
I do that even without a console.
Where I really think, what I think we're seeing right now is that we've never had an opportunity for anything but that. Right, that's been the only medium. It's effectively like only ever having bookstores for the first 20 centuries of human existence, and then one day someone starts handing out leaflets. Right, and it's like, oh wait, I can actually get some data in a very short, condensed form, and then go on back with my day. And because we're a very attention-interrupted society right now, like these devices we have in our pocket are very much, I'm standing in line at the DMV, I'm waiting to get punched in the face, let me whip out and play some games and then go back. Like, it's very much small installments of little pieces of data. I think that's just a different ecosystem and a different model, a different environment. And they both have their place, especially when you look at social games in social networks and who that caters to. I thought Zynga's presentation a couple years ago at GDC was completely eye-opening when their lead designer had talked about her mental model of designing games, and
I remember that.
Understanding that when a house mother sits down to play a game, she just had a kid yelling at her for hours. She doesn't want to sit down and try 15 times to shoot an alien in the face. She wants something that's progressive and moving forward, and something that makes her feel like she's getting investment for her time. That was really eye-opening. That was a medium that as game developers we'd never considered before, and I think we just have more avenues to explore these races now. I don't think anything's going to be the one dominant future. Just like anything, it'll ebb and flow. I think there's going to be points for all.
An analogy that I've really liked is like, people are always going to want to go to a 5-star restaurant, and they're going to want to go to a sports bar type restaurant, and they're going to want to go to McDonald's. These are the different tiers. And just because McDonald's is out there and cheap doesn't mean that everyone wants to eat every meal at McDonald's. You want different experiences, and you're going to get it with different content.
Yeah. Also, by the way, don't take a McDonald's hamburger into the steakhouse really bad. Like, they frown on that entirely. So.
Wait, I've lost this metaphor. Does this mean I shouldn't bring my premium
Don't
game?
bring your phone.
I can't bring my cell phone into Mass Effect. Got it. Okay.
That's actually a great question, right? I mean, what was the latest one? I think it was Mass Effect.
It was Mass Effect, where there was there was a mobile game that I believe as you played it, it gave you bonuses in the actual in the retail game.
Yeah. So did you guys get a chance to try that? What were your thoughts on that?
It's been interesting for me with all of that stuff, with the DLC and the rest of the things for Mass Effect, because Mass Effect is such a coherent story from one end to the other. When I'm exploring these side stories, sort of,
except the ending.
Wait,
separate discussion. Sorry,
I haven't played it yet.
Okay,
don't talk about the ending.
Sorry.
Still on my list.
We all have opinions about how the thing, but I mean, as a whole, there's this coherent thing that happens from one to the other, and when you go off and explore these side stories, sometimes it deepens your understanding of what happens. They had the DLC where you go and explore the crashed ship, your own crashed ship from the previous game. It's like, that's really cool. I'm seeing the results of this other thing that was very important to me in the previous thing. At other times, it seems sort of like, well, this would be things that you might cut from when you were editing this in the first place. But it's like, oh, we had some more stuff, so we added onto it. And I think it's a little bit like the problem you have when there are comic books based on like really popular TV shows, and you think to yourself, I want to read more about your favorite TV show, Buffy or whatever it is, except that they can't really change anything in the universe, in the comic world, because not everybody is going to be buying the DLC, which is the comic book.
Right.
So it ends up feeling kind of starved, because you're like, well, something will happen and it might be interesting, but it's not going to be that interesting as compared to what's going to happen on the thing. And Buffy, interestingly, broke out of that by ending the TV series and letting the comic books begin changing the continuity as they went forward. And suddenly the comic books got like 100 times better.
And I'm really looking forward to the comic book series of Cougar Town. Really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be big. Yeah. Mark my words.
No, but with the DLC, is this?
You mock, but it's a good show.
It's
a fantastic show.
It's going to be a great comic book.
Terrible title, but yeah.
But I think the DLC kind of thing is in there too, where if you're exploring things that aren't important to the main story but are important unto themselves, I think the DLC works really well. And if you're a big fan, you're just like, let me get out my credit card because I need more of this action.
And where's the limit, though, right? I mean, because DLC is this concept. Again, it's what John said about tiers, right? You've got sort of microtransaction, which has different variations of like durable achievement versus like here's a plasma weapon that I gain versus some other thing.
Here's extra bullets for this one
right,
thing.
and then you've got sort of the next level up, which is DLC, which really has only been born in the past couple years with console, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember 2007, 2008, DLC was just really coming out. Before that, they were called expansion packs, right? And then it became DLC, and now that's even getting cut down. So where's the line with AAA games? Again, so we've got Borderlands, which I think did microtransaction DLC stuff very well. We've got Mass Effect in there. Do we feel that this has a proper place in the AAA industry?
Absolutely. I think to your point, it either has to be completely satisfying on its own or in some way actually affect the game world to make it really entertaining, but definitely. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the Dark Souls expansion pack coming out this fall. So, I mean, that's a AAA game, and I am ridiculously excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like with, I know some hardcore gamers don't like DLC. They, look at it like, oh, the companies are just, holding back content or, leeching
it's
off
on the
us
disc already.
Or, yeah. I mean, I could kind of see I can see their issue, but it's like, I think the thing about DLC is, one, it provides a very real incentive for the developers to make sure their game is good. Like, if it's just a title that they sell you and then, all they've got to do is kind of get over that hump of, providing enough kind of a sizzle video or, a nice package that you say, okay, I'll buy this, and then you find out the game's not any good, they've still gotten their $50, $60. Yeah. But with DLC, now they have an incentive for you to, like, play through the entire game and say, wow, that was great, and I would like more of this. And so I think, it helps in that I think it provides an incentive for developers to make sure that you enjoy their games. I think sort of from an economics model, it sort of allows you to kind of pay as little or as much as you want, within limits for the game experience. And in some ways, I could see a future where even the AAA titles, the base value is lower, maybe not zero, but getting down to 40 or 30 even. As they sort of try and provide a wider range of, I'm sort of a casual gamer, but I'd like to play some hardcore console games. They can get in there with sort of a cheaper version, and then as you're more and more of a fan, you can sort of provide more and more. They can provide more and more to you.
Are we talking about episodic content at that point?
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if that's what you're going towards, is like a very limited initial release, kind of like back with Doom, where you'd get the first 10 stages,
or the
shareware,
TriWoW, where you get 20 levels. There's, all of this. I think. If I recall correctly, the economic term for this is differential pricing, which is knowing you are the person who wants the premium experience. You are the person who wants the smaller experience. You're the person who we're just barely going to be able to convince to buy this in the first place. And you need to provide a wide variety of options so that you can figure it out. Whether it's luxury cars versus economy cars, they both get you someplace, but they obviously have these very different reward payoff sorts of things. And the same thing is true with like collector's editions. Collector's editions are like, they're $50 $15 more. I mean, you get cool stuff. And I totally have collector's editions because they differentially priced me very correctly. I said, yes, I would like that. Thank you very much.
The Halo helmet, the Halo 3 helmet was probably the best one, but it wasn't life-size enough. Like, they gave you this little Halo 3 helmet.
Oh, you couldn't wear it?
No, you couldn't wear it. Like, my child could wear it, but
Could a cat wear it?
could a cat wear it? You know what? I think we should Google that.
Dead Space gave you the plasma cutter.
Oh, really?
Yes, I have the little like plasma cutter.
Oh,
It
that's
is
nice.
is actually it's like maybe half size, which means actually my daughter, it is perfect, and she ran around the house plasma cutting things for a while.
Especially cats.
So the house just burnt down.
Yeah, she just kept slicing holes in the house. But, you know.
I think it was someone from Nintendo that said a few years ago that the vast majority of gamers never reach the end of a game.
Oh, that study's been done lots of
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Sierra did it as well. It's like less than 12% of their users
So
see the end.
maybe most consumers aren't really would like to be able to buy the first 30% of a game and play that, and then once they've reached that limit, they're like, okay, now I'm completely dedicated to this. I'm going to keep going, and then you.
Well, and
DLC
then at that point, you need the frictionless purchase experience where you're it's like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's keep going right now, and
Yes.
don't let me stop and get out my wallet.
Yeah,
And then have to download 7 gigs worth
Yeah,
of
exactly.
content.
You know,
And
it's
then it
like-
comes back
so you
to
definitely
streaming.
have to
Yeah, streaming in the
This goes all
background.
to streaming. And speaking of streaming, I just remembered the other thing, which is if you ever play a game like a Jak and Daxter Naughty Dog game, try running the opposite direction down the corridor. Like if you play Uncharted and you start running the other way. It starts like, because you aren't supposed to run that direction. Don't run backwards.
They need to trip you, clearly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we actually have a question on our Dory that is related to web
Breakdown.
games.
Someone's
Our-
watching.
On our moderator. Yeah. Woohoo! Thank you, whoever you are, for watching. So let's see here. The question is, HTML5 games use JavaScript game engines, and this code can be viewed by players. Is there any way we can make sure that the game code is not edited while saving high scores?
So I think there's some assumptions about this question that I think are worth addressing before we actually answer it. So so the direct question is here, like, so the code is not edited while saving high scores. So there's some assumptions there is that the code itself is editable in a form that could save it, like whether or not the high score is saved locally versus pushed to cloud store, things along those lines. I assume that if you do have some high score, that you do have some login mechanism, so there is an authentication token involved with the process there too. Just to lay the groundwork to make sure that we're all talking about the same thing with that. That I didn't have an answer. I was just saying.
I mean,
There's lots of ways to get around that when you're. I mean, this problem exists even outside of HTML5, and Flash has this problem in
or
spades.
compiled C. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I've never opened up an object file and begun changing things.
What's an object file?
Yes, exactly. But I mean, one of the things you can do, I mean, if you've developed online games, is make sure that the actions that players do are the ones that matter, are actually have a round trip to the server. That's the basic thing to do. So if somebody, which also stops race conditions, you need some place that's transactional that players don't have an entire, free access to the entire way. Another way to go about that is, I mean, authentication systems and token systems, knowing, I mean, we deal with that in Hangouts all the time, where it's like, how do I know that I'm actually acting on behalf of me and not a thing? And then there's a long discussion of OAuth, and if I had that, I'd